Hi, I'm Nick Coe, and I'm the CEO of Real Social Dynamics. I actually live 5 minutes down the street, and I was speaking at a Mastermind in Los Angeles just yesterday. It's kind of cool to be back here because every Monday through Thursday I actually have to be in Boston because I'm studying at Harvard. I'm in legal studies. I did a couple MBAs. I built a company that does 270 cities worth of programs 1,000 times a year, and we have a network, kind of like how Adam built a network of people doing sales. I built a network of people who are doing it, but for events, also organizing fun events, helping out with sales, doing administration. But we have 1,000 people that are actually working for free just because they love the passion that we bring, the corporate culture. And I think a lot of what Adam's done in terms of sales is pretty impressive as well. He's actually trained a lot of people in my sales team. We built a sales team out here in Vegas. Just to clarify what's going on here, because when I came down here, I knew that Adam was doing a mastermind, but I actually didn't even know who was in the audience. Does everyone here, are you all part of Adam's team, or do you have your own companies and businesses?
We're all part of our capital.
All part of your company, yeah. Okay, cool, that's awesome.
They are all able to build their own companies within, right?
Okay, cool. So yeah, I built a company back in 2002, now it's a global company, and it's about self-improvement and dating advice. So who here has heard about the book, The Game? Okay, cool. So I'm Papa from The Game. What we did was we built an industry of guys who goes out to bars and clubs with hidden cameras, and we tell guys what to say, what to do, while we critique them while they pick up girls. And we charge $2,000 a weekend. And then what I did is I replicated the business model to kind of do the same thing in terms of the business world, where we do the same thing for sales. So we would go to conventions with people that are hosting, for example, a real estate company. They might want to get advertising contracts. We go undercover as sales reps into the organization and try to close sales as undercover sales reps, doing cold approach walk-ups to close deals. And a lot of it's kind of like the face-to-face interactions, kind of like how you guys have done the same thing. Most people though, even the people that have been doing this for like 10 years, were so used to going to events like conventions and real estate events, and they would kind of form like a crystal. We call it the chode crystal. It's guys who kind of just get stuck together and they just don't do anything. They kind of hang out just with each other. They don't want to do that cold approach, or fear is the rejection, or whether they could get anything accomplished. It's a totally different mindset of what we kind of teach in Real Social Dynamics in terms of like dating and business and sales. And a lot of what we do is we'll do kind of like a practice of guys just getting that social momentum, doing walk-ups again and again and again to random people, whether it's in a bar, a club, or any other social interaction, and just try to build that momentum, build rapport. See, a lot of people will look at who they're interacting with as someone who's a potential sale or not. And there's a guy named Harvey McKay, and he's someone who I interviewed in Los Angeles, and he did a video on my YouTube channel, the Nick Coe Official YouTube channel, where he wrote a bunch of books about how to network. He's probably the most famous in terms of networking in the world. He has this kind of mantra, which is how you should view people, and how he looks at pretty much everyone. He looks at everyone as people he wants to have his network. Because if you look at pretty much every single person in this room, you probably all have about 200 people that you've met in your life. They could probably tell your biography or autobiography. Maybe at your funeral, they could say some cool things about you and probably give, a one-page essay about your life in a comprehensive way. Everyone in this room has that. And each of those 200 people that can do that for you, they probably have 200 people that could do it for themselves. So just a couple degrees of freedom away, you have access to 40,000 people. And someone in that network could be great for you. I mean, I'll interact and network with everyone just as I would treat my brother. So I mean, if my handyman comes over and I have pizza, I'll invite him to have pizza, I'll invite him to have wine. I'll do the same thing with my maid just as much as I'll do it with a celebrity in the entertainment world of Hollywood. And as a result, I've gotten massive connections. I mean, I've gotten just as much value out of networking with high-end people like, I guess, Larry Benet was mentioned. So I spoke at his mastermind. He's one of Forbes magazine's most connected people on the planet. And he hosted an event at my house in the Hollywood Hills. And basically every single 6 months, we try to do networking events, influencer events with people that have 100,000 followers or more. And then what we do is we have a party. So for example, on Super Bowl Sunday, we're having a $1 million party. We spend $1 million, we invite influencers from all over the world. They fly in, everyone from like the Sultan of Qatar to the royal family of Saudi Arabia. And we also have influencers in the entertainment world to Instagram models, like Playboy models that have 1 million followers or more. all different kinds of industries, not one particular kind of person. We do that because they have a network, they have reach, and they could kind of influence our lives and give us the social proof that we need to kind of build our careers, and also to get involved with a lot of cool projects I'm doing, because I'm trying to do all sorts of crazy projects, everything from building a dating company to building a business coaching company to even building a musical in the history of my company, a hip-hop musical, kind of like Hamilton. I actually just saw that in Chicago. But I mean, a lot of the things that we try to do is try to get all sorts of people involved, because you never know who's going to be able to help you. I mean, I'll invite pretty much everyone to anything. And also, when I wanted to build my network, it's very different to where I am now. I'm just trying to maintain my network and build it so I can accomplish more things. As of now, it's very different. When I first wanted to build my network, and let's say that, I was just growing. I was trying to build a much smaller company. Like, we had a company that was doing $1 million in revenue. It's a much smaller company. Even building up towards that. A lot of it was just built from scratch. So I built this entire company from scratch, from the ground up. When I was building my company, I was so broke, I was living in a car in the back of an airport parking lot at LAX. And I was using their free Wi-Fi, their gym. I was using their parking lot for my car, which is a 1997 Toyota. So it was like, at the time, it was 10 years old. And I was still paying $14 a day in rent, but my rent was the airport parking lot fee. And I was building this company. And it was funny because that same year, we were on Inc. magazine's list as the 65th fastest growing company. At the same time, I had sold everything I had. We had built a company in a mansion in the Hollywood Hills. It was the old Rat Pack mansion. I moved there because I needed my own service myself. I was kind of like a socially awkward Asian guy from college who just studied all the time, went to a boarding school in Princeton, and my family made me like play guitar, piano, violin, just study all the time. I didn't really have like a lot of friends. Then I got addicted to the college life, where I wanted to build a soul circle. So I started holding a lot of parties. And I kind of utilized that to understand how to communicate better with other people. And I had really crazy parties. I got into magazines because I was hosting events for like Playboy and other people. And so the parties were like in separate clubs. I'd have two 55-foot motor yachts. They would connect with each other. I'd have, there's a movie at the time that was really popular, which was Romeo and Juliet. So I recreated the masquerade ball, recreated the armor, and I wore it. I'd have crazy themes. And then I felt like this party thing was like my addiction. So much so when I went into Hollywood, I was throwing parties at movie studios, at Playboy mansions, and all sorts of stuff. But people were interested in my parties. They weren't interested in me for me. So I wanted to learn the social skills on how to do that. So I created a mastermind, this mansion, of guys who are really good at picking up girls and social graces. I was always fascinated by argumentation, social graces. I'd watch like attorney TV shows a lot. I've learned just as much that I've learned from like fun, fascinating, fictional stories you see in movies as I have in books. But at the same time, I've always been a big proponent of learning. I mean, I've been in college now for 15 years. I did 2 MBA programs. Did my undergrad at Wisconsin, then I wanted to create a hotel company, so went to Cornell for hotel school. Now I'm at Harvard. I'm studying legal studies, law, and human rights and international law. And I'll probably be doing a doctorate at JD afterwards. But I've spent over $1 million going to mastermind groups. I didn't do that just because I wanted to learn, though. In fact, most of the times I go to mastermind groups, like probably a lot of you guys go to seminars that maybe Adam sends you, or you guys go yourself, events like this. But I mean, when you're outside of your own company, for me, I got so much value just hanging out in the hallways or getting people outside of mastermind groups, just using it as an intro. The key was the follow-up. Most people, they'll exchange business cards. I don't even carry business cards around because I'll just text people right away. I'll get their number, I'll text them right when I meet them. And I'll maybe share with them like some things I want to follow up on, like maybe my YouTube channel. Maybe I wanted to interview them on my YouTube channel, or maybe I wanted to invite them to a dinner party. Because I hold dinner parties every month, not because I just like having dinner parties, because it's a way for me to reconnect with people in my network. Or I'll hold mastermind groups, like the Las Vegas mini castles where Adam was a speaker, or Tony Hsieh's home, who created Zappos, and he had a house, and he wanted to bring entrepreneurs to develop the downtown community. He bought 60% of the land in downtown Vegas, and he kind of invested in the people that have companies on his land, or he's funded them or advised them. He's on my board of advisors as well, and helped us build a corporate culture in our company. But I mean, a lot of it is creating a team where everyone kind of has a passion, because you have to have fun in your business. And I think a lot of people, they'll build a team that's focused just on business. And the people they work with are people they don't want to hang out with. They're people that you have to pretend to be friends with. And that's a problem. So I mean, I wanted to create a company where I'd want to hang out with everyone. Now, my company has grown significantly, so there's a lot of people who don't necessarily fall into that position anymore. And then those are people that kind of, though, who have really strong relationships, though, with the people they work with, their teams. Because you kind of like have a team of 10 people that you can really manage and trust at a time that don't require or depend on your skills. Get fully trained at a time. This is something that Vern Harnish used to say all the time. He created a network of 30 to 40,000 entrepreneurs called the Entrepreneurs Organization, where every entrepreneur makes over $1 million a year. And I was on the board of the LA chapter of this. And it was a really cool idea. But what he does is he built a company that kind of like inspired a whole generation. I mean, if you talk to guys who are in YPO or who have masterminds like Tony Robbins, they have their own group, this mastermind. They may call it like the Blackhawks, and they all have their own little forums. They have an accountability partner. So usually people who want to develop teams, I usually ask for them to get into some kind of accountability group and kind of mentor that process. For me, I've been a part of many accountability groups, but many board advisors. You usually have 8 to 12 people, and you kind of follow up on your goals in your personal life, your family life, and your business life, and you set KPIs, key performance indicators, measurable, smart goals that you can track. Well, you just do it month to month, and you basically share stories. And the key is that you're not teaching each other, you're not advising each other. You speak from Gestalt. So if you guys study philosophy, or any of you guys have, Gestalt's a guy who created a way of teaching other people without offending them. A lot of people here may be bosses or alpha males, or alpha women, people who are basically kind of like A-type people. But if you're that kind of person, you might be used to giving orders to people, especially if you're all building teams, or maybe you're part of a team. But basically, Gestalt is where you talk from personal experience. So as opposed to telling somebody, I think that you're not following through in your objections here. People are giving you the time and money objection, or like saying, hey, I don't have, the money for this now, I need to do this later. Well, instead of saying, well, you need to be more aggressive. You're not pushing as far as you could go. I'll push way further, and I'll build more rapport, more trust, more credibility, and develop that relationship and close the deal. Instead of that, I would say a lesson of an example. I'd say, last week I was with Phil. And Phil said, he didn't have the money now. I said, don't worry about it. Why don't you just give me some kind of a payment plan or layaway plan. You do this, I'll give you a bonus of X, Y, Z. For example, hey, I'll take you to a Lakers game, and then we'll get a box, go to this together. I know this is going to help you. Also give you a free consultation with me, some free advice, and then push forward and close the deal. So as opposed to telling him exactly what he wanted, that's exactly what he would do. Now, I was in the financial world also. In fact, Adam and I used to work for the same financial firm, totally coincidentally, long time ago. But I was in the financial world as a financial advisor. I created my own financial company when I was 18. So I was selling all sorts of things. I was on Wall Street. I was working in institutional investments at Payne Weber. I was working for Transamerica, World Financial Group. I was working for all sorts of crazy companies. Now, I thought I was going to be an investment banker before I wanted to create my own company. But I kind of got addicted to this process because the people in my team kind of relied on me for their income. And as a result, I felt like I was responsible for them, like I had responsibility for them as my children. That's why my nickname is also Papa. Also because there was a movie called Chevy Chase Las Vegas Vacation, and the character at the time was the main character throwing parties was Nick Papa Giorgio. My name is Nick, so people called me that. And we'd have crazy parties, and I had a fake ID that said I was not 18 years old. I was over 21, just like in the movie. And so that's kind of like how I got the nickname. And people still today call me that. But that lesson of throwing parties is something I realized was a way to build rapport. So I still use that as a sales tool today. Now, I don't think everyone has to throw parties, but it could be something small. Like how I built my company, from the very beginning, we didn't have any budgets. I was $60,000 in credit card debt and student loan debt. My parents paid for my college education. But at the same time, I used my student loans to kind of fund my way to throw parties. And as a result, I didn't have any money. So what I did in order to kind of build my company was that I contacted people that had, post on discussion boards or internet discussion boards and invite them out to lunch or invite them out to dinner. And I would try to close sales and deals for them or for my company. So who here is a team leader versus a part of a team?
I go both ways.
Okay. Awesome.
Depends.
Okay. And then how many people are on a typical team here? 2, 3, 5, 10? Yeah? Okay, great. So 10 is basically the size of a team that I build my company. So my company has a series of teams that are 10 or smaller. And when it gets to above 10, I usually assign a sales manager, and I'll give them like a small percentage of commissions. And I'll grow from there. And then that's how I break up my team. Because I know that Vern Harnish said that most companies, and he's studied thousands of companies that he has a company called Gazelles. It's like a training program for people that were in EO or in YPO and make over $1 million a year in sales. And he kind of builds teams of 10. Yes?
I just have a question. Because I got like the message that I'm getting is like to build up your company or your business. The most important thing is to have a team.
Well, that's definitely one of the most important things is to have a team.
Okay.
I mean, there are things. There's many things that are important. I usually look at it from like three things that I think are the most important if you want to talk on top level things. The first thing is to have the right mindset. When you're approaching people, a lot of people will approach them as, can this person help me or not? And they might realize that this person might be able to help them down the line or might be a good friend. But I mean, just having genuine friends around you they just might introduce you to people that might become your clients. The other thing is I look at it from the mindset of like giving everyone like a present. Like I have this Christmas present that's super awesome. I really hope they take it, because if they don't take it, I'm gonna feel really bad for them because they can't, take advantage of this. The same thing is like not having outcome dependence. You're not stuck into that. So a lot of people will look at a success or a failure about whether they got a particular outcome as opposed to looking at it as a reference experience. But I mean, field experience is king, and as a result, you just want to get as much reference experience or field experience as possible. I mean, when we're teaching our guys to go out and pick up girls, and the same as business, you gotta have either the shotgun approach or like the sniper approach, where you're trying to pick up a particular girl, whether she might be the right fit or not, or you're just approaching a lot of people all over the place and trying to build relationships with a lot of them, trying to find which one's the right match. And it's the same thing, whether it's in dating or whether it's in business or sales or networking. And having that mindset from the very, very beginning, from the get-go, is super key. But the next step is kind of like from the inner game point. So the first thing is to really master that inner game. The second point is to master that outer game. That outer game is actually what to say. A lot of people will actually not make the sales because they just run out of things to say, or they just don't know how to continue a conversation. So there's a few things about it. The first thing I'd like to do is I usually recommend people some resources. So one of them is a book that's called Persuasion or Influence, The Power of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. This is a book I give to all my sales reps, and it's about how you should build rapport, how you should build trust in your clients. Some of the things like getting people used to taking some kind of action, no matter what the action is, regardless of the action, is that they're more likely to do more actions with you in the future. So for example, if someone's willing to go with me to a bar or a club, they're more likely to have dinner with me. They're more likely to go to another dinner with me. They're more likely to give me their money or invest their trust with me. In the same way that if you go to one place with somebody and you go to another place, another place, and another place, you'll feel like you have more rapport. So if you go with a tour guide, you might feel like you have more rapport with the tour guide than you have with somebody who's in your college class. So one of the things I do is I have a YouTube channel. So I post pretty much everything I do in terms of public speaking, just post on my YouTube channel. So I do speeches like this, because then instead of speaking to like 50 people at a time or 100 people at a time, I could get it viewed by like 70 or 80,000 people. Or pretty much everyone that I kind of train, I get them involved with social media of some kind. So we have Facebook groups in 224 cities where we do business, and each of them are geo-targeted to have like a team. We get volunteers who are kind of passionate about what we do. They help out. It's also our friends. We give them free bonuses of some kind, whether it's like the value of going to a free event or learning from me directly or going to parties or just being part of something cool. But people like to be a part of something higher than themselves. So I get involved with a lot of social media as well, and that kind of like allows me to spur all sorts of really, really interesting conversations. So in the same way I build conversations in person, I do that online. But going back to the outer game topic, because we kind of had a tangent, the outer game stuff is I like to build multiple threads. So there's something called multiple thread theory, which is if you talk about multiple topics as opposed to just one particular topic, you're able to feel like you have wide rapport as opposed to deep rapport. Do you guys know the difference between that? So the deep rapport is, let's say that I know that this person is a swimmer, and he went and was in the Olympics, won many contests in high school, swam a lot, and I like to swim a lot, so I talked about how all my swimming experiences kind of matched their swimming experiences, from swimming in the ocean, doing Ironman, doing all sorts of triathlons. And maybe this person swam in 5 different cities on a regular basis, loves to go deep sea diving, and is just get caught in that topic of swimming because you're a passionate swimmer. Now, wide rapport is, okay, I know this person likes swimming, and then this person likes fish, likes traveling to restaurants when he goes to these places, has friends he travels with, has a family that they travel with. They like flying business class, and they like trying to get upgrades to first class. They like find food at restaurants. They'll even travel to find restaurants. They like running just as much as they like swimming, and they have 10 really close friends. And you talk about all these different experiences, but you don't finish any particular topic. You haven't exhausted that one particular topic, and then it dies, and you get into interview mode. So a lot of people go into interview mode where they just ask question after question after question, as opposed to speaking from a position where they're leading the conversation. So you got to have like a game plan. So most of what you got to do in terms of sales, you're not just pointlessly doing chit chat. You're not just trying to get an idea of who their lives are for no particular reason. The reason why you're trying to develop wide rapport is because it does a few things. First, it allows you to get a full picture of this person's life story. The second thing is it allows you to develop trust because you wanted them to have just as much information about you so they feel like you're an open book. Because if they're trusting you with your money, they need to feel like you have an open book, an open relationship. I mean, I've done a lot of sales on a higher end. So I mean, in terms of like my sales and investments, it's been through like really powerful, rich family and friends as like a focus. And so a lot of you guys have done the same thing with your family and friends. But in the same way that you're selling your family and friends, a lot of it is because they trust you and they know you. And also, this is the same thing you develop really fast, way quickly. It's a skill set that my business partner says, developing quick, sticky relationships with people who may have known you for just like a few hours, but you feel like they've known you for years, or they feel like you're one of their closest friends because you have so much to talk about, and you haven't finished all your conversations, and you've invited them to follow up for various things that you could possibly do. And you feel like you understand what their passions are, they feel like you understand how you can help them, you can add value to them, and you try to do that for as many people as you can, not because you want to develop a lot of deep, close relationships, because even though a lot of these relationships may be superficial, a lot of them could be very valuable to you, and there's still a powerful mastermind of friends that can help you out. I mean, I probably have in this city of Las Vegas, people I hang out with on a regular basis, maybe like people who I would trust completely with my cats and my family, and who I would let them hold my wallet. There's probably in this city maybe like 5 to 10 people. At the same time, I'll invite dozens of people, or maybe like 100 people to my house, and maybe 10 or 20% of them show up. I think 10% is a good average rate. And then there are people I would develop relationships with. In my phone, I might have 2,000 or 3,000 people. I might text for like a holiday or invite them to a party, and then maybe 10% of them will show up for a large party I'd throw. But I mean, I have a lot of relationships that are with people that feel like they kind of like know me. I mean, I like having that. I appreciate those people who are really close to me, close to my family. But I mean, I've kind of developed my whole life where I communicate with different layers of people and go deeper with the people I can. In fact, a lot of the reasons why I developed a YouTube channel was to interview those people who I wanted to reconnect with. And I wanted to also show the people who are really close to my life I care about them. I even had a situation where I got married 3 times to the same woman. I got married on a reality show called Below Deck, episode 6. Where he rented a yacht and had like $1 million party on a yacht. They had 24 hours organized. And I also got married on a small beach with just 20 of my friends on a private small beach that was open to the public, but there's just 20 of our friends there in Hawaii. And then I had a large wedding, and I had more open to like my larger extended family and friends as well. But I've done that through my social life, my business circles, my mastermind groups, for everything. And I think that's really important, because I think the third thing that I'd focus on is that continual education of how you can sharpen your skills. I mean, Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People would always say, sharpen the saw. I mean, I come from a very hardcore education family. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, and my dad was the president of DeVry. And I have pretty much everyone in my family has graduate school education, actually. Yeah, everyone does. But I mean, I think that whether it's going to formal education like me, or whether going to continuing education events like this one, sharpening the saw and continually learning has been a massive core to my success. I've spent so much money going to mastermind groups, and even got my wife to travel with me 1 to 3 times a week, going to various events for 3 years, just to help her learn how to become entrepreneurial. Because I don't think everyone needs to be an entrepreneur, but when I define everyone should be entrepreneurial, is everyone should be thinking outside the box, realizing anything is possible, and then pushing things forward. And I think very deeply that is the case. Just that so many people, they kind of get locked in that box. They don't push harder. And I think most people that would prefer to work 20 to 40 hours a week and build an automated business, I think that's cool. But when you have that hustle or work ethic, you can really push things forward. I mean, the guy who is the guru out there that I admire the most right now is Gary Vaynerchuk. I've known this guy since his company and my company were like the same size like 10 years ago. It was that case with me, Tony Hsieh, Gary Vee, Drew from Dropbox. We were all like at a ski resort together at a little mastermind one of my friends organized for like 30 of us. And now he has Instagrams and social media where he teaches how important it is to hustle, how to build that hard work ethic. everyone's trying to create the automated system. Now for us, we always had the desire to create an automated system, but it wasn't because we didn't want to work in the future. It was because if we create an automated system, we could have even more success. And as a result, we had one automated team of 10 and then another one, and just get growing. And that was kind of like my goal. But the reason why I also speak at events like this is also to kind of find out what people like yourself are interested in learning about. So I'd love to answer questions that you guys might have and just help you guys out with whatever is interesting to you. So if you guys have any questions.
So when did you discover that you really had a drive to go and succeed? And how did you then encompass that into your life to action?
That's an interesting question to me because I think that every single person on the planet wants to succeed at some point very early on. But I mean, if you're specifically talking about succeeding in entrepreneurship or business or,
I think that for me, it's like there's a certain point in life, there's something that really triggers you that says, wow, I want more, and I'm now willing to really put myself out of my comfort zone.
So I guess my upbringing probably is different from a lot of people in here. So I had parents that kind of would push me on every aspect of my life. So that kind of pushed me. So whether it was being a kid and I got a bunch of food on my plate, my dad would say, Nick, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. You got way too much food. And then my mom would say, prove your dad wrong. Or I would have I'd fall behind on class. And then my dad would say, you're not gonna do good in this class. You're just gonna fail. You're not putting in your effort, not doing your homework on time, you're procrastinating. My mom would say, prove your dad wrong. But then my dad would also help me. He'd help stay up all night with me. If I was in boarding school in Princeton, he'd fly out there to help me study. But at pretty much every aspect of my life, I had a really nice support system of parents pushing me. I think that's been really important as a parent for how I'd want to parent my kids. But it also was what kind of propelled me to push me forward. Also, I grew up then facing challenges. So whether it's classmates that would say that I wouldn't succeed, whether it's in sports or academics, or people in the business world that are mainstream media, writing thousands of articles trying to attack whether or not I could have a viable business plan, or people who would say that this is just silly or just talking massive crap. I would always interpret that and remember my parents and say, okay, well, I'll prove these guys wrong. So it kind of was this push. Also, I grew up kind of with a contrarian desire to do everything in my life, kind of rebellious. I've been listening to heavy metal music and rap and battles and gangster movies. And my crew would call ourselves the Goodfellas. Even today, I take all the legal values of mafia movies and kind of integrate in my life, like family's most important. You treat your friends like family. You make sure that you stay close to your competitors, understand where they are in your position, so you could outpace them. Just a lot of the typical mafioso values that are healthy, not the unhealthy ones, like killing people and stuff.
Awesome, man.